Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to a very special evening, an evening that celebrates excellence in the Indian equity broking industry. It's now time for me to call upon our first guest of the evening to give the welcome address and kickstart the event. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome President and CEO India, Dun & Bradstreet, Mr. Kaushal Sampath.
Friends from the media, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. I feel honored to welcome all of you this evening to the third edition of Dun & Bradstreet Equity Broking Awards 2011 in partnership with BSE Investors Protection Fund. Intended to acknowledge and celebrate the most distinguished players in the broking industry and their stellar performance in a tough environment, DNB's Equity Broking Awards are an endeavor to felicitate the stalwarts of the Indian equity broking industry, which is one of the key pillars of the Indian financial services industry. I would also like to take this opportunity to announce the launch of the 5th edition of our publication, India's Leading Equity Broking Houses 2011, which captures the pulse of the equity broking industry. And I'm extremely delighted at the overwhelming response that this publication has received since its inception in 2006, both in India and overseas, because as all of you know, the publication is available free of cost to anyone, anywhere in the world on our website and through DNB offices in over 200 countries. I would like to talk a little bit about our publication, India's Leading Equity Broking Houses 2011. This publication profiles a total of 125 equity broking companies and also features a study based on the financial analysis of 32 equity broking firms whose audited financials for the year March 31st, 2011 were available to us. We have divided these broking companies based on their broking income into large size. So if you have a broking income of 2,000 million rupees or more, that's large size. Mid size, so between 440 million to 2,000 million rupees, that's mid size. And small size companies, which is less than 440 million rupees of broking income. That's how we've divided it. I would like to thank all the firms that participated in the survey and shared information with DNB. You will appreciate that without your participation, we cannot come up with the analysis, we cannot provide the insights that we seek to. So I thank you all for participating in the survey and the study. And I would like to congratulate all the firms for their active and enthusiastic involvement, and for all the firms that have won the awards, without which this evening would not have been possible. Thank you once again for joining us tonight, and I hope you will enjoy the proceedings. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sampath. Now it's time for me to introduce our guest of honor this evening, Dr. Ashok Desai, Consultant Editor of Business World magazine.
Well, thank you very much for that very generous introduction. There is a job to be done, and it is twofold. First of all, we have to grow the number of investors. The proportion of our population that invests in the stock market is miserable. It is probably not more than 2 or 3%. If you look at its regional spread, you'll find that virtually all of it is in Western India. Really, Bombay, Maharashtra, Gujarat, that's about it. I live in Delhi. Delhi is today far richer than Bombay, but no one ever invests in shares in Delhi. Here's an enormous market which is not being exploited. And therefore, it seems to me that you have a job to do. You have a marketing job to do. You have to educate people to invest. You perhaps know that India has one of the highest savings ratios in the world. India saves roughly 2/5 of its GDP. India is second only to China. And yet, very little of it goes into shares. A lot of it, a very high proportion of it goes into property, which is why property prices keep rising and rising and rising. Of the part, well, let's say roughly 40%, that is, let's say 16 to 18% of GDP, which goes into financial investments. Roughly 3/4 goes into fixed interest investments, and the rest goes into equity. So there's an enormous potential market for you, which you can exploit, and you have to find a way of exploiting it. And the way to get people interested in investment is to create discussion about it. It's not enough to have thousands and thousands of terminals. Around every terminal, there should be an investors club. You should be starting investors clubs, and they should be discussing shares, just as people in Ahmedabad, for example, discuss shares when they go out for a walk in the morning. This is your next job, and this is what I would like you to take up next. Thank you.
I now invite Mr. Kaushal Sampath and the other dignitaries on stage to launch BSE-Dun Bradstreet, India's leading equity broking houses 2011. Ladies and gentlemen, kindly put your hands together as the book is now officially released. A book that's unrivaled and unparalleled in the industry. I now invite a very competent arbitrator and moderator from our media partner ET Now, Damini Kumari, to take over proceedings and lead the panel discussion. Over to you, Damini.
The panel discussion is really going to be on making Indian capital markets more accessible. And when I actually looked at that topic of discussion, what came out really was making it accessible for whom? Is it for the investor or is it for the issuer? And actually, strangely enough, it needs to be made accessible for both. Yes, stories are there to be told, and I think solutions have to be found out of the box. Really, that's what we need to look at today, and we'll try and attempt to do that with our panel. Let me go ahead and introduce them to you from left to right. We'll start with Mr. Sudeep Bandyopadhyay, who's Managing Director and CEO at Fullerton Securities. We have Mr. Kamal Bansal, who's Head of Institution at Bonanza. We have Mr. Chandramouli Balaraman, who's Founder, CEO, Indigo Software, and which is now with Polaris Software. We have Mr. Jagannathan Thununguntla, Head of Research at S&P Global Securities. We have, of course, Sharmila Joshi, Head of Equities at Fairwealth. And finally, Mr. Balasubramaniam, who's Head of Special Initiatives at BSE. So let's start from the left, Sudeep, your views on this.
Generally, lack of interest in equities. Of course, for a minute, if we leave aside the current gloom and doom scenario, which is world over prevailing, and I'm not sure whether a retail investor should enter into the market today, but if you leave that aside for a minute, something needs to be done to take the equity markets to the masses. Whether it happens directly through equities or through the mutual fund route, I'm not sure, but somewhere it needs to be done, and I think till the time that's done, I think even the retail investors are not getting what they should be getting. If you look at, forget, as I again say that today's doom and doom, but when there is a rally also, you see people make money. And who make money? The FIIs make money, the HNIs make money, the guys who are invested in the market make money. So retail investors are never invested in the market, so they will never make money. So I think it's a catch-22 situation. You have to bring them to the market. Right. And if they're invested in the market with good advice, somewhere they may start making money.
Come on.
See, I think everybody in the room and in our hall is convinced that there's a scope in the Indian market. Economy is doing well. It is going to do well. There's no doubt about it. Whether it may take 1 or 2 years to recover. But we also need to look at that maybe we are too much focused on the equity market. We need to look at the potential of the Indian market. We understand that only 8% of the saving is going to the equity market. But apart from that, there more than around 50% of the saving is being invested in the physical assets. The rest is say in bank deposit, more than 30% in the bank deposit. So we need to find out ways how to bring that fixed deposit saving into the capital market. Either it can be through the bond market, it can be through some kind of innovative instruments like ETFs, maybe index ETFs. We need to promote those products. Because right now, if we are say promoting only speculative trading, which may be good for the say industry revenue, which even we are not making now, but for a long-term health of the industry and long-term potential and the wealth generation for the investor, we need to look at the product and promote the equity culture. So equity culture is going to stay, but we need to find out more products, different products, maybe like gold ETF. Gold is a fancy with the investors. Indian say people have a lot of investment in the gold. So can we promote gold ETFs, which will drive the money to the capital market? They will get aware of the capital market. There may be real estate investment schemes, because so many people are investing in real estate. But there can be some route whereby they can be brought into the capital market in the similar products. So I think there is a need to bring out with the new products, whereby investors maybe not be investing only in the equity market, but also in similar products which are being brought in by the capital market players. We as a broker have to evolve ourselves more as a financial planner and the financial manager for the investors.
What do you want to see now, Chandra? Change for small issuers.
Sure. I don't understand why, if I can do a secondary market transaction completely paperless, why should I sign up all these forms and papers for subscribing to an IPO?
Right.
And I think that process needs to be simplified, made accessible. Because today, there are, from what I understand from the industry, there are about 200 centers of collection of all these IPO forms. And if you are not in the vicinity of this 200 odd locations, you are out of the market. You have no access to the IPO market today. And I think that system needs to be addressed. The third thing is, I think we need the flows of money into this broking and the mutual fund distribution business is the brokerage and commissions. And I think we need to ensure that there are decent amount of brokerages for these transactions that can feed this industry. Otherwise, it's just going to, die a natural death, or it is going to correct itself. I don't know how, but we seems to be in a hyper-competitive situations where there are not sufficient revenue flows into these companies to be able to offer a decent level of investor service. Right. And I think, you need to have income to be able to offer a service that is worthy of your money.
Jagannathan, this one's for you, head of research at SMC Global. Tough job, because you've got to get those the revenue coming in, the profit line to be showing, and then you have people coming in telling you need to educate investors. Do you really care about educating investors if it doesn't add to your bottom line?
I mean, if they're really fully educated, then they will never invest. So probably it is better they don't get educated fully. Whenever we talk about like this growth story and things happening, I mean, we come back to the same point again, the investor awareness, and we don't move, we don't take a step forward. We try to rotate in the same things again and again. So that is one. And one more thing, the main problem is the lack of demat accounts. 1.8 crore demat accounts in a country with 120 crore population. That is barely 1.5% penetration. In a country of 120 crores, if you don't even have the roads, how will you take the vehicles to their homes? First, lay the roads. So, in a country where 75 crore mobile connections are there, 30 crore postpaid connections are there, at least in a postpaid connection, you are at least clear that his address proof is clear, his income proof is there, and that's why you have given him the postpaid connection. Why don't you give a demat account? Let it be free. Let it be free. What's so big deal? So let the road get laid out. Then you can send whatever vehicle you want to send. I think I still feel core broking is making money. Let's accept it. For large brokers, core broking, the base broking is still making money. Where is the problem? Is the new financial services, which they never understood, they got into, that is where the losses. But we have a habit of painting everything with the same brush. We are saying entire financial service industry is bad. No, I still feel core broking is making money.
Right. Okay. All right, Sharmila, your turn.
I think when you come to brokers, there's a very beautiful line in Alice in Wonderland where they say that you have to run twice as hard to stay in the same place. So I think that's where brokers find themselves. Today they have to run twice as hard to just stay in the same place. So, the whole focus, attention, energy is on really maintaining brokerage levels. So what are we doing in the bargain? I think, somewhere you talk of penetrating and going to semi-urban, rural areas and, things like that. But at the end of the day, are we really making people money? Is the kind of service that we are giving our clients really targeted towards making them money? Or are we really just focusing, is our entire focus on brokerage?
Right.
And I think, that's the hard question that brokers really need to ask themselves and, to address. That I think the conversations that you have within the organization, in your corridors, in your canteen, should be about your product, should be about your investment, it should be about the companies, it should be about the industry. But, I find that increasingly it's only about end of the day numbers and, a very narrow view of how to really take this thing forward. So I think, I think there are really no easy answers.
Let's finally get a final panelist, Bala.
Okay. Both the issuers and the broking industry are my customers because I list them and I also provide them the platform to trade. So in some sense, I think many of the problems which they articulated, there are certain solutions which are being tried to be some kind of solutions which are on the way or on the anvil, like small companies finding it difficult to raise capital. So that's the SME segment. So there is some policy move on that where basically now BSE has got the SME exchange license. So that's something which is a new sector which is going to open up. That's one innovation on the way. Second is obviously technology, which we are leveraging in a big way. Somebody mentioned that the secondary market infrastructure in the country is like really from a technological plane of view, it's very, very large. And in some sense, we are leveraging it. Today we have such a large distribution chain. And in fact, BSE has in fact gone ahead to actually further the financial inclusion agenda by actually slashing down the intermediary costs. I think all of us together need to work out the solutions and not overly focus on the problems as such. I think we need to look at all the areas where we are going to look at some financial innovation, innovate using technology and other things.
So I think the panel verdict is straight. I think this is the first time I've found so much similarity between the telecom sector and the broking sector, the last mile connectivity. Everybody spoke about that. Luckily, no scams here. Hope there's no shakeout either. There are 15,000 brokers to contend with. Of course, it's very difficult when you're sitting in a market that's down 20% year to date, and you're looking at trying to do everything that's right for the capital markets. Yes, it's challenging, but it is still a nascent industry, and there's a long, long way to go. And as I said, this is the one industry where we have beaten China, so I'm sure there'll be lots of lessons to be learned for us, and the way forward can only be up from here. With that, I'd like to thank the panelists.
Moving on to the most eagerly awaited for moment of this evening, the BSE IPF Dun Bradstreet Equity Broking Awards 2011. I'd now like to invite Mr. Kaushal Sampath and Dr. Ashok Desai to come on stage and preside over the presentation ceremony. So let's begin with our first award category at the BSE IPF Dun Bradstreet Equity Broking Awards 2011. Broking house with the largest distribution network. Before I announce the winner, I request Mr. Ashish Kumar Chauhan, Deputy CEO, BSE Limited, to come on stage to present the award. And the broking house with the largest distribution network is SMC Global Securities Limited. Moving on to the next category, which is the largest e-broking house. And the largest e-broking house at the BSE IPF Dun Bradstreet Equity Broking Awards 2011 is HDFC Securities Limited. And thank you, Mr. Ashish Kumar Chauhan, for giving away the awards for the first two categories. For the next three categories of awards, I call on stage Mr. K. Srinivasan, EVP, Partner and Geography Head, India, Indian Subcontinent, Mid-East, Levant and African Markets, Polaris Software, to present the awards. The next category is Best Broking House with Global Presence. And the winner of the Best Broking House with Global Presence at the BSE IPF Dun Bradstreet Equity Broking Awards 2011 is India Infoline Limited. Next up is the Best Retail Broking House. And the award for the Best Retail Broking House at the BSE-Dun Bradstreet Equity Broking Awards 2011 is Angel Broking Limited. The next category that we are awarding is divided into two subcategories. So first up is fastest growing equity broking house among large firms. And the winner is Angel Broking yet again. And thank you, Mr. Srinivasan. To present the final two awards, I call on stage Mr. Ashish Kumar Chauhan, Deputy CEO, BSE Limited. The next category of awards is fastest growing equity broking house among mid-sized firms. The winner is Fullerton Securities and Wealth Advisors Limited. Well, we've now come to the final award at the BSE-Dun Bradstreet Equity Broking Awards 2011. It is the most coveted award, the award for Best Equity Broking House. Ladies and gentlemen, the time has come to reveal the name of the winner of the Best Equity Broking House, and the award goes to Motilal Oswal Securities. And that, ladies and gentlemen, brings down the curtain on Dun & Bradstreet's Equity Broking Awards 2011. Hearty congratulations to all the winners. Now, to officially end the business part of this evening, I invite Mr. Ravi Saneja, Head Sales Economic Analysis Group, Dun & Bradstreet India, to raise a vote of thanks.
Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Dun & Bradstreet and Bombay Stock Exchange, I would like to propose tonight's vote of thanks. Tonight we have seen all the industry experts talking about the stock markets, how the stock markets have become the barometer of country's economy. Tonight's award event was a platform and attempt by Dun & Bradstreet to reward and recognize the outstanding efforts of the equity broking houses, especially during these tough times. I would like to thank all the business partners. Without their support, this tonight's event and the publication would not have been possible. Presenting partner Polaris Software, title partner Bombay Stock Exchange, platinum partner PC Jewellers Limited, principal partner SMC, co-partner Bonanza, co-partner Destimony, industry partner Fairwealth, and media partner ET Now. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight's biggest round of applause and thanks must go to all the equity broking companies that have been profiled in the publication. Please join me in wishing them continued success for their future efforts to propel themselves and our country to greater heights. Thanks once again, all of you.